Hello, party people. I haven't really figured out what I'm going to say at the start of these podcasts. I need to figure that out because this is only episode 3. But yay, I'm so excited everybody's back. And today I have my client Liz hanging out with me, and I cannot wait to kind of just dive into a fun conversation. How are you?
I'm doing great. How about you?
It's Friday. Um, I'm ready for the weekend. So Liz is a coach, so she understands this, and a mom. But the moms, like parents out there will understand this, where like the relationship and the heavy lifting that a lot of like what coaching is and like stuff like that, where you're trying to show up and you're trying to mold yourself into like what they need to hear, like saying it the way that they need it said and like all of those kinds of things, and like being chipper when maybe you're in a shit mood and you want to send a good video still. Like sometimes it can just be a heavy week. And like this week was just busy, and I'm very ready to close my computer. But I love all of you. I'm just ready for the weekend. Do you have
Yeah,
anything fun?
same. We have a wedding out of town and a funeral. Fortunately, we are not, I know the timing's always crazy, but my husband's going up to the funeral in Canada and then meeting us at the wedding, which is also not in town. So we're doing a whole thing this weekend. So yes, getting ready, packing, making sure the kids have clothes that fit them that are appropriate for a wedding. So that's what the next 24 hours are going to be devoted to.
Kohl's is a good
Just
option. Have you gone
Good
there?
to know. Not yet, but we can hit that up later if we need. Hand-me-downs are a great option for my middle kiddo. So I went shopping in the other one's closet. But yeah, my oldest is much bigger than he was last time.
Is he adult sized yet? I forget how old he is.
He is 13 and he's now taller than me. So he can wear like the extra large kids, and we're going to stretch that out as long as we can before we're jumping to
So
full-blown
Target
adult
has good
size.
stuff too. I don't know if I haven't been to a Target in a million months, but that's where the last time we had to get something for
Yeah.
Riker, we were able to get a suit there. And I think then you
Yes.
can keep it cheap.
Pick it up. Pick it up option.
Yeah, drive up, go grab it, and then you don't feel
Open
bad
the
when you
trunk.
actively ruin the shirt, right? Because
Right.
like the shirt is already ruined. It's stained before you've even bought it. No matter how old they are. Riker is 12. And wait, how tall are you?
I'm like 5'4.5", and he's probably about 5'6" now,
Yeah, I bet they're
which
like, it sounds like they're probably about the same size because Riker's about to overtake me, like any second now. Like, and did he do a huge jump like out of nowhere? Because he did that. My son did it over the summer, like two
not
inches.
yet. Not
Oh,
yet. It was maybe like an inch, but this kid needs to eat and sleep to
yeah.
grow. So we're kind of waiting for that because we know it's coming. I know you guys are tall too, and we have some tall genetics in our line, so we know the potential's there. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah, I read something crazy. I can't remember how I fell down this rabbit hole. It was either this morning or yesterday morning over coffee. Like the quiet scrolling, um, when everyone's still asleep. They said that like one of the ways you can figure out your kid's height is to take their height at 2 and then double it. And so I'm very curious to see if it actually works out that way. Because, like, for Cora, who's very small for her size, that would put her at 5'4". But I honestly would be shocked if my daughter ends up 5'4". Like, I just don't think she's going to get that tall. And so I need to go look up Riker's and see. But I think his calculated out to something crazy where we think he's probably going to be taller than Vic. Um,
Whoa.
yeah, his number, there was like, I found all these different like equations that you can do, which like who knows if they're bullshit or not. I guess you can do them and then write them down somewhere and then try to go back and check things to see if it works out. But it's definitely been bizarre with like hugging him now, and
Yeah,
you line up differently. You're like, you're a whole
you're
ass
my child.
right. Like you're huge. And the other day I got him to actually like he slowly will melt because Riker has I mean, and this is my fault to a certain extent because I'll walk around in like a sports bra because we have like a garage gym and stuff. And he'll like shoulder hug me. And so some days I get like there's one he was like laying on me and then he just slowly like continued melting and melting and then I wound up with like his head in my lap and like his hair and I'm looking at this like massive head and I'm just like he used to be my 4 pound 5 ounce baby. Like he was the tiniest baby ever because he was preemie and he was huge. So are your kids in sports? They are, right?
Yes. They are, my oldest is now finally getting into running, which I love, but it's also a double-edged sword because I can see how good he could be, but he isn't kind of in his I don't really want to try phase. Or, other things are more important that I don't view as important, which, that's a whole other conversation. But yeah, he's cross country, track, basketball. We're trying to figure out if that's still a thing because most of the kids are full grown men that he was trying out with last year, and he hasn't quite hit that stride. So that's discouraging when, you feel like you're not the same size or strength as all the kids you're playing with. So I'm hoping he doesn't get completely discouraged because he did love it. Middle kiddo, he soccer, basketball, and he just got into swim this summer and loved it. So, like, yay for individual sports. And my daughter's a dancer. That's what she does. Soccer did not work out. She would just flat out leave the games and run to the playground. It's
Yes.
like, good, done. We're narrowing it down early. I love it.
I love that too. Oh man, yeah, busy schedule. So, I mean, there's so much to dive into. I love with this kind of stuff. My goal is to like to share each of our like ways that we get shit done. You know what I mean? Because especially as, working moms, as an entrepreneur, as like with all of that going on, like it brings all of our roles carry so much weight like themselves and like require so much there and then like individually, but then trying to figure out a way that we just get it done. And I feel like people want to hear that there's like a list or something, or there's like a perfect routine, or that they can try to implement that'll fix things. And then it comes down to like the way that things work for my family is probably different than what works for your family, and stuff like that. So how do you like, do you have any things that when you're talking to clients and like trying to lay stuff out, like some like your top 3 tips for sanity, I would say?
Yes. And like you said, what works for your family might not work for others, but also what works for your family at one point in time won't work for your family at another point in time. And it's more about just like get shit done, right? Well, no matter what it looks like, no matter how long it is, because people get so hung up on or married to how things have to look for it to count.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a complete mindset shift to be okay with a 10-minute workout, be okay with 20 minutes of cardio when you were planning much longer, because then they get into that phase of not doing things and then it's so much harder to get the momentum back. So that's where it comes. It's like find a little window. It may not look the same week to week, but the whole point of it is just to do it, to keep that consistency rather than how intense it is or how long it is. So, and I still struggle with that because things always happen. It's like, oh, I was just getting this routine and now this happened. So we got to pivot and flex our routine. So it's always just, strength training, cardio, nutrition, having those easy things that you just grab because cooking is just isn't happening a lot.
Right. I
And when
mean,
it does, it's easy. It's not.
are your clients shocked to hear that?
Yes. And they get really like, well, why aren't I supposed to be chopping and spending all this time prepping all these fresh fruits and vegetables? I'm like, because you can buy them already that way.
I think that is the cheat code, right? It's
Hmm.
messy but done. Really. Like just fucking do it. I mean,
Doesn't
you'll
have to be
understand
ideal.
this. I have covered 5.5 miles this week and it's Friday. Like, and this never happens, which is why even, and the worst part is it was supposed to be my peak week of like training, and it's been, well, a whole pivot actually. The race that I was training for, the ultra. So first I was doing one at the end of September, and it's like 3 hours south, I think, from where we're at now. And then I wasn't able to get like a place for us to stay. Of course, it starts early in the morning. So like things were just it was going to be very shitty to try and make it work. And it's out in the middle of the mountains is the problem. So like there's one lodge, otherwise you have this really long mountain drive. And so I pivoted from that one and then was like, okay, well, I'll do this ultra that was 2 weeks later. So like, oh, I get more time, and it's the same one I did last year. And then I just started to like I think I'm probably burnt out on big endurance training for the year and just
Yeah.
at like a good I should probably pivot. Like I have the urge to lift really heavy, which usually comes when I'm like, all right, time to just hold on to it. But so I switched to this other one. And then right when I was like, I don't know if I want to do it and talking to my husband that day, I got emails that Ben has a karate tournament right in the middle of the day. And then Cora has a mandatory practice. And so it like Vic was like, I'll just drive back and forth. And he would have been driving all over the Denver metro like all day. And I was like, that's dumb. Like, like no, like don't do that. I want to go to the things with them. And so now I'm doing a marathon at the end of the month, which this probably sounds crazy to people, but like it is kind of nice to get to a place where you can kind of just casually, well, there's a
Just gonna.
marathon. I was gonna fuck around and do that. That sounds fun. So I'm gonna go do that. But like you've been training and like we've had to do a lot of the same thing for like various reasons, but it really hasn't been like I'm not stressed. Are you stressed? Are you secretly stressed out? And I don't know.
Um, Not secretly stressed out because of the training, but secretly stressed out because of the inability to do the training.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been interesting. Ultimately, I've decided that my overall well-being at the moment is probably most important, and um, pushing through that kind of ruins my mood and my reaction to life and ability to show up in other places. And if it's not the time, it's not the time. I put in the miles, body remembers. I'm learning a lot of things in the process of how to prevent these things from happening again.
Yeah.
So, and also helping people, that's the thing. Is like, not that I love being injured and having deficiencies, but being able to work through it, kind of helps you stay ahead of it when other people could be going through similar things. Or, if a client says the wrong thing, then you're like, no, you are not going to follow my footsteps.
Right.
Do as I say, not as I do.
Let's see. So I just pulled up the stuff. So we didn't say, but Liz is hurt right now.
Yeah.
So we were running and I pulled up because I couldn't remember just how long our last long run was, but
It was 18 miles. Did it twice.
yeah,
And that's the worst part is I was so close.
there.
Um, but at the same time, that last run was kind of a fuck around, find out moment of which, we just push through, we test the limits. Because I wanted to know either way, is this something that's a big deal or not? And it is. It's posterior tibial tendonitis. And if you push through something like that, you can get adult onset flat foot. So it's not one of those push through the pain and maybe like rest a few weeks type of thing. It's you can have serious repercussions.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be humbled and do the therapy and all the torture things that the physical therapist was doing, and keep my nutrition steady, which is hard. That's probably one of the hardest part is like, well, I still have to eat all this, but I'm not doing all those miles. So
Which we haven't seen anything crazy happen. Like,
no, but that's all just like, the crazy stuff that comes from the bodybuilding days of just, that messes you up in some way for a long time.
yeah. And your macros are real fun. Okay.
No.
Do you mind if I tell them where we're at right now?
Not at all. You can
Okay.
share.
Well, so we well over 2,000 calories. And
Hmm.
this was her marathon training. Okay, so the last check-in, like official check-in I have was back early August, so about a month ago. So she was 11 weeks out from the race, had an 18 that weekend, and we were doing 400 carb twice per week, and then 300 carb the other 5 days. So we situated the carbs. We figured out, right, that you liked day before and day of for long run.
2 days before. And then the long run day was just whatever fueling happened. But most of the time I ended up topping off to around 400 just because like I wouldn't be so hungry afterwards and I would just get the bare minimum in to repair. and reload. And then later that night is kind of when it would all set in. So I kind of felt like I needed that much just on that day.
100%. And that's what it's about, right? Is like instead of this is the huge shift from bodybuilding and bikini to endurance training, right? And I think that's why it's actually been so appealing to so many people. Like it's funny to me now when somebody will pop up on my page as like a recommended, and I'm like, oh, they're a runner now, you know? And it's and I think it's the food is so appealing, but it's also so scary. And so it's always like a gentle game, especially with like walking things up. And I love it when we get to like get to a big place with calories and then feel that we need them, right? But I mean, let's dive into that a little bit with like the shift from
Yeah.
bodybuilding and bikini and like just kind of lifestyle and things like that now. Like, because I know that's really hard for a lot of people. I have a friend, Sarah from Pro Physique, who like she hung up her heels at the start of this summer, and she's like, she's definitely done. I keep waiting to sell mine. I don't think I'll ever put them back on, but like I'm pretty much done. But even then, there's a part of me when I'm like, I'm done. That in the back is
Yeah.
like, you sure?
Yeah. Then they introduced that new, what is it, fit model category. And you're like, ooh, that's more attainable. And you're like, shut up.
Right, I totally
Don't
did.
even
And then my
consider it.
client Meg got her pro card this weekend. And yeah, at North
That's so
American.
exciting.
And I'll be honest, I did not anticipate that until I saw that. Like when I saw who she was up against, I was like, oh, yes. But I had so many fears that Fit Model because it's already become not what it said it was going to be.
Of course.
They had left it at what it was supposed to be when they announced it. The other girl should have won. Megan was the best bodybuilder on that stage. Was she the best fit model? I mean, I think so. I mean, she won, and like, but what's funny is that when we pivoted her from, she did Masters Nationals at the start of summer and bikini, and we were not big enough, and we had to get super duper lean to get her to pop and like look bigger, you know. And then for fit model, she was like, what do we change? And we literally didn't change anything. Peaked the same way. We brought like nearly the same package. We were a hint softer. She was 108 at her other show, which was too small. And then we were 110, so 2 pounds. But I mean, on when you're that
Okay.
small, it's a decent amount. We had 2 more pounds on her, and we peaked with more food for the second one. So I mean, it might have just been a better peak. But the thing that's like hard to me is I feel like fit model has immediately become bikini.
Yeah, which the more I see, right, in terms of just competing in general, I'm reminded about, it's a totally different approach for many people. Many things are suggested to
Mhm.
win and be in a competitive place that I wouldn't be willing to do. The injuries, just intentionally putting, like right now with our endurance training, the goal is to not get into that state of low energy availability, right? Because of the ramifications, especially in our age group. And then like just the thought of intentionally doing that right now for maybe a pro card and then what, having to compete even more.
Right. That's
I
what
don't
is so
know.
exciting. Her thing is very much that she is like a very proud natural athlete and like really wanted to prove that you can still be that person.
Oh, I love
And
that.
that was why I'm like, and like all of me saying this is not me discounting how incredible she is. What was frustrating was
Hmm.
that her work wasn't being rewarded on the bikini side. And then, I mean, we found the perfect spot for her in this fit model place. But there's a part of me that's already nervous that that's going to balloon up and then we're
Hmm.
going to lose this too soon. But I mean, what is cool is that like blew my it took like days to settle in, like that it happened. And I was like, man, she's one of the first ones, which means they will set the standard next year. Like their physiques are what they'll be comparing to, hopefully, with things. And so she was like, what do we do now? And I'm like, we sit down. We get to sit down now. Like, and grow and not be in that position because she won the over 45 overall. And so we are in that place where every time we jump into one of these diets, we are egging shit on when it comes to menopause and all of that, you know. And luckily, her body handles it really, really well. And so it hasn't been a problem. But I mean, it makes me nervous. We just did a podcast on the Prophecy Code about it yesterday with talking about Sarah getting
Okay.
her period back because it took her 12 weeks almost, like
Oh,
post show. And I know there's a lot of people who do that on purpose, which kills me.
right, right. I think people just really don't understand. Like, I don't want people to do things out of fear or have that drive, but there needs to be some awareness and knowledge and what can happen when you do that to your body.
Yeah. And we dove into that a little bit yesterday with like talking specifically about like the protective factor of like estrogen with your brain
Mm,
and things like that. Because, you know, it even makes me nervous when like doctors have people skip their period with like birth control. Like,
yeah.
because that I was so I while before we recorded yesterday, I like dove down a rabbit hole to make sure because like if I'm going to say something, I like to make sure I have verified it. Um, and it's actually pretty difficult to find information about that at all, really.
Right, right. Yeah, I've kind of dove deep into that too. And it sounds like even like it's not ideal, but they're having that exposure to the low dose hormones, which can help prevent some of the things. But at the same time, if you don't have that cycle, then you don't have that inner, guide on things that are going on because having that natural cycle can tell you so much about what's going on in your body.
Yeah,
So at
yeah.
least they get the hormone exposure, but at the same time, it's like we don't have that to guide any kind of, anything.
Yeah, compared to like stuff like that. If it's somebody who has to take stuff because of, you know, like another factor where birth control is
Right.
helping control, you know, crazy periods or like things like that, by all means, yes,
Hmm.
that makes sense, right? Like that is different. It's part of your treatment plan where skipping the period they've decided is worth, you know, fixing this other thing. Um, and like that makes sense. But I looked up trying to see like what are the ramifications if you do that? Because if you think about like amenorrhea when it's due to low energy availability and things like that, and then so your body's just not taking the time to build up that like the uterine lining, it's not releasing the hormones and everything for that. And so you have nothing to let go of. That
Right.
same thing has to be happening,
Yes,
right?
well, it shows up when it's, you're getting a stress fracture or you are passing out behind the wheel or something horrible has to happen. Like you don't have that little, hey, your body's not in a good state and then it's going to have some serious consequences in other ways because we know like it just starts taking from everything.
Yeah. Have you worked clients out of that before?
A little bit like within my scope.
Hmm.
So, like encouraging, but sometimes when there's some underlying stuff too, you have to recommend. And that's what's nice too, is like we can say, hey, go to this, professional. Like this is the professional that can help you with this. Sometimes it is a mental health professional um, with a lot of these things because it's so deep rooted
Hmm.
from stuff that we've been through with diet culture or those of us who've done bodybuilding.
Yeah. I was talking to somebody recently who one of their initial things was, I want to get my cycle back. And then she was like, I've worked really hard to be eating enough carbs this summer to make that happen. And I'm at like a high carb amount. I'm at 100. Oh, okay. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
and then like looking at stuff like she got her period. The crazy thing is she checked in with me yesterday and like we hadn't really shifted things yet, but it's been about like a week and a half since we had talked about it. So she said she started like trying to get more in. But there's this she was the second person in 1 week that mentioned calories that low. And it just breaks my heart that it's still the thing that's out there because the other person, and they were in two different countries. This is the craziest part to me. I spoke to two people who, like, so this isn't even like an American thing that we hear a lot with the 1,200 calories. One of them was in Australia, and somebody else, sorry, was in Hong Kong. The idea was keep it as low as possible. This is all you need. And then we're dealing with these issues, you know. Of
All you
course,
need for what though? For survival?
these
Yeah,
kids, I'm sure they've brought something home.
for
Um,
sure.
yeah, I've got like that. Well, and the weather shifted, and there must be some fire going on I don't know about because we had like a weather alert for Denver's so weird. We get climate action days and ozone action days, where something about the elevation, I think, and the fact that we are literally like higher, there's like weak point, or ozone collects or something. It's very weird. And they'll be like, it's an unsafe ozone day. And we have like more ozone layers, bad shit that you're not supposed to breathe. And so they'll be like, please don't drive your car today. Or like, don't mow your lawn, use a gas mower.
Did they say don't go for trail runs? You're like, it's not on the list.
It
I'm
says,
going.
well, right. I go and check that because I mean I'm usually the fuck around and find out mode. But like last summer, I did that. I just ignored everything, and it was when like Utah was on fire. Or no, I think last year was Canada, right? That was just burnt
Hmm.
forever, and it would come down and hit us really hard and just like somehow the jet stream like dumped the smoke, and then because of the mountains it just doesn't go anywhere, it just sits. And like when I drive the kids to school, I talk about Pigpen from like Snoopy,
Yeah.
had the like weird cloud around him. That's just Denver. You
Always.
look at the range and there's just this like greenish brown cloud that just hangs all along the mountains. I'm like,
From all the things.
lovely. Really excited to go breathe that in. This is great. Well, you have to pay a lot of attention to that stuff. So that's one thing. So Liz does a lot of like talks, and or was that I'm getting ahead of myself. So you've done a lot of events while we've been working together and things, with asthma and working with which company was it? I forget. Not
It was with Amgen and AstraZeneca because they partner on a medication that I take. And yeah, they love success stories, especially, having somebody who's active and not just living, just at baseline. So they brought me in to talk to employees and sales reps to just kind of invigorate them and let them know that their work does affect real people. So I got to speak on an invisible disease panel to just talk about, my story because I, always liked to run, but I was always kind of held back by having flare ups. Like, oh gosh, like my cold and flu season, which especially sucked as a parent, was stuck, and the kids just kept bringing stuff home. Was stuck just, flare up after flare up, taking corticosteroids, then immunocompromised, get the next cold, and just had to, miss out on a lot of things, just feel like crap. Just, it was not fun. And then got on a biologic, and that kind of changed a lot. And just, it really helps at the source
Mhm.
of where the problem is, the inflammation at the lungs, and kind of shuts that down before it gets bad. And I've only had to take corticosteroids one time in the last 2 years.
Amazing.
So it's been, yes, big quality of life change. Also able to continue to train and push through that 4 to 5 miles that I tended to get stuck at.
Yeah.
So yeah, air quality is definitely something that I pay attention to. And yes, I have tested it out just because, sometimes we don't believe things until we experience them, and it does not feel good when the AQI is above, what is it, 80-ish, I think. I know other countries use different methods, but that's kind of like around where they recommend people with some conditions, and children and elderly do not be active outside. I had to look up those guidelines because people don't know that around here. One year when it was really bad, we were having swim meets, there were lots of baseball games going on, and they're having all these warnings on the television telling people about how this is equivalent to smoking this many cigarettes.
Right.
And I'm like, why are we doing these things? Like, who's the adult here that's telling us to not do it? Because we're not used to that in Ohio, where, somewhere where it's current, they know.
Yeah,
Ooh, yeah, you're right there.
we're 83. I'm pretty sure this is like where we hang out. I don't know that I've seen it much lower than that in like quite some time.
Yikes.
And that's like That's part, like, I love running here and especially like out in the mountains and stuff, but that's been one of the things that's made me like ready to leave Colorado is that like during the winter it will be cold and like miserable, which I've gotten better. I know that's like a gear problem. But like you only want to wear so much when you're running. And so like winter's not my favorite, but then during the summer when you want to be outside, we always end up with it like that because all of the fires it just like works out that way. And then there's something about the heat and everything too, and then you know that cough you get
Yeah.
after you run on a day like that, and as soon as you stop you're like fine the whole time you're running, and then I feel like once I get upstairs to the shower I'm like hacking up a lung like
Ooh,
the
it's
whole
working
time.
it all out.
Yeah, yeah. So I did a lot of treadmill work this year. I was like, I just don't even want to deal with it, which I know that's not your favorite. I thought about that and I was like, oh, we should talk about that because I'm
I would give anything.
like,
I would give
and
anything to do it right now.
right. Oh, well, that's true. See, that changes it a little bit. But it wasn't, was it an hour or 5 miles?
Yeah,
There
it
was
was an
something,
hour.
okay, that was like we just got to do it. And like, because Liz did not want to run longer than I think it was like 4 or 5 miles where you're like, that's as far as I'll go. And I was like,
Yeah,
well,
due to sheer boredom, I could die of boredom. Essentially, it was nothing else than that, just being uncomfortable.
yeah, 100%. Did you find anything that helped with the boredom?
Trashy TV shows, for sure.
Right. Have you watched,
Just
oh, sorry, go ahead.
what were you asking?
Well, I was gonna say, have you watched Hunting Wives? Because I only watched it while I
No.
was running. You do that one. When
Okay, I'll put that on the list for when I can get back to it. But it's always stuff that like my husband and I have specific shows that we watch together. And there are some that it's just a hard pass for him, which is okay. And that gave me lots to work with when I was running on the treadmill. So
Yep,
yeah.
I need to find a new show. I had heard about Hunting Wives like on Instagram or something, and people were talking about how it was crazy. And then I did, I think it was 18 miles that I had, and I was gonna do them on the tread. And so I made it through like almost all of the episodes, and because it's like a short series, and it was bizarre, absolutely bizarre. And I love stuff like that because you can kind of just set a pace that's comfy and then try to just zone out. Like that's the
Yeah.
key with those. And I think that's why it's so hard. I talk a lot about how much I love Peloton, and one of the instructors refers to it as moving meditation, like getting to that comfy where you don't really have to think about how hard it is or pushing yourself. You're just going. Uh, and getting to that with like a movie is so nice. But the other thing you
Yeah.
can try is action movies. If you like any of those, like I'll watch the Avengers movies, and then every time there's a fight scene, I have to work harder, and so
There you
that
go.
helps a little bit too.
Yeah. 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 And it kind of makes it more fun too, because sometimes those undesirable things that seem boring and basic, we just got to make it more fun. Yes, like you were talking about the Peloton, the rides, like picking, like today I picked a nice little 30-minute 90s rock. And what's great about the 90s rock is I'm always more towards the top of the rankings because there's only so many of us that are going to appreciate that. So it's one of my
That is hilarious. I should start doing more 80s runs and then just clean up for the ego boost.
hell yeah.
I do unfortunately get very competitive with anybody who identifies themselves as older than me on the leaderboard. Um, and then I'll feel bad almost because I'll start out with it being like, oh, I'm just supposed to do an easy run where I'm like, okay, I'm not going to push it today. But then if I start seeing people that I can collect, then I'm like, I guess it's a tempo run kind of day. Like these people didn't know what's coming. And then like
That's
at the
funny.
end of it, I'll be like, what if that was the first time they had ever done a 60-minute run and they were so happy until I stole that like win at the last minute.
That
Like,
was
damn,
all they had going for them.
that was rude. Like, I'll read myself the riot act afterwards. I do a lot of Bex. Well, I guess because you haven't done the tread, right? Just the bike.
I like the outdoor. Well, I was actually doing for a lot of long runs. I would do a lot of the longer treadmill runs outdoors
Yes.
just to have that somebody, just a friend along for the run.
I did that for my entire Colfax one year. Did I tell you about that?
Yeah, you
Where
were suggesting the longer runs. Yeah. They
I
need more of those. They need more 120-minute, 90-minute long runs.
I stacked like a million 30-minute runs, and that actually did wonders for taking the time away. Because let's see, it took me almost 5 hours. Well, no, I think that was the year I was pregnant, where I did classes the whole way. And so it took me a little over 5 hours to complete it that year. And I think I did like 10, 30-minute classes and would alternate
Jeez.
between like an endurance one and then like a hit one. And then I would throw in like a beginner run. And then that way they're just
Okay.
in my ear the whole time. And I would try to use it for like the push and pull to just distract you. Like,
Right, right. I don't
you
even
just,
follow along what they're
yeah.
telling me to do most of the times because sometimes, like, if I'm like towards the end of a long run and they're telling you to like push it, you're like, bitch, no, you don't know what I'm doing. You don't know.
Right. I do the same thing. And it is funny when you have them in your head so much, like you feel like these people are really coaching you because like you get your
Yeah.
favorites, you know? I love that. I crave Mariana Fernandez.
She's so great.
Oh, I mean, just her energy. And she cries like as often as I need her to. And it like it works for me where like she gets emotional with stuff. She talks about like clients and runs and things like that. And I'm like, yeah, like show up on the days where you're having a shit day and tell us that. And then we all just kind of get through it together. Because that's the that's the secret, right? Of like mom life and like fitness life and shit is that you just have to fucking do
Yeah. And
it.
that's part of like the running too, is that mental health, like just the act of running away from my house alone is just, you always come back.
Right.
You just keep going, just running away. And then sometimes like at those Peloton lists, they have a song that hits just right and you're already feeling emotional, like just that release from letting go and getting in that meditative state.
Have you had that happen during a run where you just
Oh
cry?
gosh, like why am I crying?
Mhm. You're like, I probably look like a crazy person. Um, it's always like a big ballad, you know, something
Yeah.
like that will
A
hit. And
song you haven't heard in forever.
yes, I'm that maniac who runs too, like mouthing the words the whole time. So like if you see me, I'm like very
Oh
into
yeah.
so if it's like my hands are out and stuff and something will get me and I'll just cry.
It's
But
hard
it
not
is
to sing along.
they tell you not to, is that what you said?
I know I said it's hard not to.
Oh yes, I was gonna say, who said that? Because that's a great way to train your VO2 max and like your diaphragm is to
Yeah.
try and sing while you run or to talk. And so I'll tell people to try and like whisper because sometimes that's just a little bit easier. I'm like, whisper the lyrics while you're running and see if you can keep that, like being able to push the air and be effective and control things. And it really helps when you're working on like zone two, like trying to get
Yeah.
and maintain that. Um,
Yes. Or could work against you. I remember this Eminem run. I was like full on remembering the lyrics. I'm like, oh wait, my heart rate's way above where it's supposed to
like now
be.
I'm angry. So my 5-year-old, if you ask him who his favorite artist is, it's Eminem. And
Oh,
he listens to it while he plays Fortnite with his big brother because they share a
all
room.
the explicit versions.
Yes, and he came upstairs the other day and he was rapping the real Slim Shady, which hadn't heard it in a hot minute. And he comes up the basement stairs and he's like hitting it. And so it's like the millennial in me was so proud. And then the other part of me was like, hey, this is not a kindergarten song.
Yeah.
Miss Gonzalez cannot hear you sing this. Like, please don't. Um,
Yeah.
there's plenty of stuff that I'm like, you cannot act the way you do around your brother at school, please. And I mean, we've made it through a little over a week, no problems.
Okay.
So hopefully we'll get.
Sometimes it's like a, like a new puppy though. Like they just kind of keep it together for a period of time because it's new and then they show their true colors.
That's so true.
And then you
Um,
start to get calls. Ask me how I know.
in like October.
Oh,
Yes.
we've already gotten calls. We've already gotten
Really?
calls. Oh yeah, my daughter only hit 3 people last week. So this week it's figuring out what can we do to make her not hit people. But
Yes.
we're figuring it out.
Listen, maybe she's just surrounded by people who need to be hit, and the fact that they exist. Like,
Yeah, sometimes when there are arguing at home, one of the follow-up questions is, well, what happened before that? Like, I need the whole story here rather than just an isolated action.
yep. Well, it was funny because before we started recording, you and I were talking about how we have somewhat similar things around parenting, at least with sports and stuff like that, where we're like, tough it out, you're fine. And I mean, our rule when it comes to stuff like that is you don't throw the first punch, but if you're in it, you better finish it. Like, and like, don't let this happen again, right? Like, if someone's gonna fight you, then make sure no one else wants to fight you by the time you're done. And we've only had one call ever about stuff like that. And I laughed at the assistant principal because I was like, get the fuck out of here. I got a call in fifth grade for Riker. They were like, Riker's in the office today because he tackled and flipped over another student. And I was like, what? Like, that is not my child. What
Like
did the other kid
context,
do?
please.
Yeah. And it was something so stupid. Like the kid was torturing Riker's friend about like taking something from them and like, I'm not going to give it back to you. It was like a Pokemon card. And Riker was not having it. And so the kid ran off and Riker was like, I'm going to get my friend's Pokemon card back. And apparently tackled this kid. And he got home and I was just like, do we have to talk about why this was stupid? And he was like, no. All right. And like it didn't happen. I was like, good on you for taking him down, man. Because like he's not that kid. Like at all. That's the only time he's ever been aggressive, like about anything. So I was like, I mean, well, no one's ever bothered him since. So maybe that display worked out well. And
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I don't condone violence, but don't let people
No,
think that you can't fight your own battles either, you know?
no. We've had so many calls, but that comes with like the ADHD and everything too. Just the impulsivity and total regret afterwards. Like it's never like the intention to hurt somebody, but
Yep. We, I have not gotten calls yet this year. And like I said, it's only been a week and a half. But I think at this point last year, we were already hearing, well, yeah, so he's in seventh now. That's so crazy. Sixth grade was hard, where the teachers were like, he's doodling too much. He's doing this, he's doing that. Or the Chromebooks with,
hang on one sec. My
yeah.
husband's leaving. Yeah, sorry. He is headed out of town for a funeral.
Oh, yeah, you said that, right?
So, yeah.
Wait, was thinking, is the movie Two Weddings and a Funeral? I think you need one more.
It
What
is.
for this weekend?
One more. Oh gosh, there's nobody left.
You imagine? Oh man. And then wait, do you have to travel for the
Yeah,
wedding?
it's just like it's a couple hours north. It's nothing. We're driving.
Oh, okay. That makes it easier
Yeah.
with everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ADHD side of things, and then the fact that schools are not even remotely set up. I feel like like neurotypical kids, like keep them on task, much less ask the kids who already have like a harder part with it. And so they would call last year about like the Chromebook, like, well, he's playing games or like they're watching videos on YouTube. And I was like, well, that's your fucking problem. You gave it to him.
Uh, what do you think is going to happen? And that's the thing too, is like a lot of the times looking at the environment, is the kid set up for success or not? And sometimes they don't know. I mean, they've got to had ADHD kids before that they had to work with, right? Just like you got to get a step ahead of them and know what they're going to do.
Yeah, and it's funny even progressing through it with the kids because I mean, Riker's the other one that's diagnosed, and then Vic and I are both diagnosed. And so I'm like the
It
likelihood,
runs strong.
listen, yeah, we're just assuming it's an entire household and everybody pretty much displays it. And I was very, because of our generation and I think the way that it was treated when we were kids and stuff, when with Riker, I at first was like, no, like I don't think so. And we like ignored it and things like that. And then now we get to like Ben, and it's little stuff like he chews on his shirts all day. And like when fidgets got popular, when Riker was in like first grade and stuff like that, I was like, no, you don't need that. Like just figure it, like just sit on your hands, like try to come up with stuff.
Right.
I'm not buying these little things. And now I'm like, what can I get you? Like, what's the thing? Like I reached out to his teacher and asked, and I should check to see if she responded, like what her comfort level is or like what's distracting. Because I want to get him something he can chew on, because quite frankly, he's ruining his clothes. And like where it leaves the stretched out like
Yeah.
section. And so at home, that like the silicone straws, I just hand him one of those. And because I
And he just
hate
goes to town.
straws, they're terrible to clean. Don't buy them. Um, I would use them for smoothies for the kids, and then like not everything cleans out. And so I was gonna throw them away, and then I started just giving him that, and he literally chewed through one, like it broke, and it's that the only thing he really has like an oral fixation. And so I'm like, I gotta find, I'm sure there's something that can make it easier for him to focus. But he's loving school, which I'm hoping it stays that way.
Aw, that's so
Um,
sweet.
he was our first one that got to do preschool. Like the four are funny because we had the first two while we were still active duty in the Navy, and we were in our mid 20s, and quite frankly we were broke, and just trying to stay alive, because for a while it was just me in the Navy while Vic was going back to school. And so when I got out, like I was there preschool with stuff. And I mean Riker, he's in like a GT program and like things like that. So that's fun. He gets more support actually because of that. Because the overlay, like with GT and ADHD, the school automatically, since he's in the GT classes, I think they're like, these kids tick a little differently, you know?
They
Uh,
figure out what helps. Yeah.
yeah. And so then I look, we were able to put Ben and Claire both into years of preschool where they just go for a couple hours and get to go learn their letters sooner with other kids, learn those environments. And it really is obvious how different that is for how they go into things and how they learn stuff. Um, and so, yeah, 10 out of 10 approve of that. But like, holy shit, am I so ready for Claire to just get into free kindergarten and not be saying that anymore? Like,
You guys have all day there. They just started full day here, and
yeah,
parents are loving it.
it started. I think that they had just kicked off full day kinder when Cora went. So she's in fifth grade now. She's
Wow.
a COVID baby. So, or not a COVID baby. Ben's actually a COVID baby, but Cora was one of the COVID kindergartners where she started that
Yeah.
year.
Okay.
And we still had schools open, which, like, I was very conflicted. I still look back, like, we can all agree that masks were not comfortable and they sucked. But because I had a baby in the house, because Ben was born February 4th, 2020. And so
Wow. Yeah.
I remember
We
when
did
it,
the best we could with what we knew.
and then it was winter. And so I remember it had been that first month postpartum, and there was all this
Oh,
snow and everything. And then, it was like, hey, there's this weird thing going on. It's just 2 weeks to flatten the curve. And I was like, no, wait, I am just now ready to get out of the house. What do you mean I can't leave? Like, and so frustrated. So then when Cora could go back to school, we were like, pretty excited about it. But Vic and I always look back where we're like, man, we were very healthy that fall. Like, we really, nobody brought home colds. Nobody brought home anything because they all had to stay away from each other. They couldn't breathe on each other. And so, like, were they annoying as all hell? 100%. But I think that was the healthiest, holidays
yes.
we ever
I
had, because
remember that. But
kindergartners
then,
each other.
but then how horrible did it get where if one kid in the class had it, you had to like go through the proctored test to prove that your kid didn't have it, or they had to, stay out of school for a period of time. Like, I guess, yes, like I said, we did the best we could with what we knew, but in hindsight, it was like, oh man,
Yeah. Yeah.
oh.
looking back, because we had a baby in the house and stuff, we erred on the side of caution with everything. We're like, yeah, sure. But it is crazy to like look back now where it's like, God, remember how scary that was? Like when it
Yeah.
started and it was fucking
Yep.
scary.
That's
Like,
what took me out of the gym. I went on medical leave because I didn't know what would happen to me with my asthma if I got sick. So I just, like, my doctor offered, hey, I can sign this form for you. You can, stay out as long as you need. And I renewed it a handful of times before deciding, the gym isn't where it's at anymore because I was watching people come and go depending on what was happening, right? If there was a wave and people were getting sick again, people wouldn't come to the gym. So I was like, I can't rely on my clientele to revolve around what's happening outside. So, plus people in there had just given up. They had all these rules, but nobody was following them. And
sick of it.
um, I don't know if they needed to, but just the fact that it was complete chaos stressed me out. And I was like, I
Yeah.
don't want to be part of
Lifetime
this
was
right
like
now.
my issue with that. And I remember
Yeah,
like being very
that's
frustrated.
where I worked. That's where I
Yeah.
worked.
Yeah. So the way things were handled when there were like proven upticks, like with things, and then it would still be crazy at the gym. And I was like, you guys aren't even like putting an effort to like clean and like different stuff. Like yeah, I was like very weirded out. And especially like we talked about earlier, like with kids going and like gym daycares and stuff, you're
Oh,
guaranteed.
they got all the things
Oh my God.
at
And
the
like
gym
my
daycares.
thing wasn't even like I was just talking about this with somebody else. It's not even that like with COVID anymore, like we've all gotten a bit more lax, right? But like as parents, like and like especially for somebody like you who if you get sick, like it could be something much bigger. It's like I just don't want any shit in my house. Like so if anything's going to help people not get sick, I'm happy about it. I was at the gym the other day and I'm sitting there, I'm on the hip thrust machine at Lifetime and I look up and the guy in front of me is wearing a mask and coughing into his shoulder and then doing pull downs.
Like, why are you here?
Can you go home? Like, I appreciate that you've put this effort in and that you're getting your workout done with your mask on and that you thought, like, you're like, I want to keep my people safe. Like, he obviously thought about that, right? I applaud that. Also, there's the door. Like, please,
Yeah,
like, ugh. It's already gross. You're not going to lose your gains. Go rest or do some body weight stuff at home, please.
yes, yes. That's another thing I don't miss about those days too, is how gross. Like, you just saw the grossest things go down. And if it's gross out where the adults are, in the childcare center, I mean, we knew firsthand that kids are just coming home. I remember, so when I was teaching group fitness too, it wasn't as bad with personal training clients because I could reschedule them in the week. But with group fitness class, you need to find somebody to cover for you. And it was literally every other week. It was mostly with my daughter because she got it from her brothers and from the childcare center. So she would get sick and then I would have to find a sub and then she'd be better the next week and then she'd pick something else up and then I'd have to find a sub the next week. And that was a whole thing. I ended up not teaching after that because it was just a complete shit show. But yeah.
Thankfully, things, I mean, I haven't seen anything too crazy yet with people going back to school. We're about a month into it for across the country, it seems. I watch all of you guys and your check-ins as they come in, and I
You're
can
like,
get a
uh-oh, it's
feel.
coming.
Yeah, because I've got people spread out all over the place, and there'll be weeks where people will start checking in, and it's somebody in Illinois, and they're like, I don't know what this is, but I feel like shit. And someone in California will say it, and then somebody in Florida says it, and then somebody in Washington, and then I'm like, oh God, it's coming. Like,
Yeah.
we're not,
Right now,
but don't make plans.
no, right now, COVID, strep, and hand, foot, and mouth are making their way around
Hey,
in our
really?
schools. Yeah.
Strep. God, that one sucks. Like,
Yeah. We don't really get it. I think we're just some of those people. My oldest got it once, but I know they've been exposed so many times. I've never had it.
well, you must, well, because that's the one, like, we all carry it, just like staph, right? Like, we
Hmm.
already have strep bacteria. And so it's like, if it gets exacerbated, so maybe you fight it better or something.
Well, at least I get that one thing going for me.
Listen, you don't have to get strep every now and then, but you do get asthma all the time. Congratulations.
Yes. And all sorts of other weird, funky things that's like, oh, that's not common. Of course it's not.
Thanks
Who
for that.
wants to be normal?
Yeah, I mean, that would be boring, right? What
It
would you
would.
do if you
It would.
didn't have this to fight with? Look what it's made you. I
Right.
love it.
Right.
Yeah. You
I
didn't
guess that's one of the things too. There's always something, right? We can only plan so much,
want.
and we
Right.
just have to expect chaos at this point and have a plan.
Yep. And I think it's like running into it versus being a victim to it. You have to
Right.
choose,
And
right?
knowing your options ahead of time, right? Because sometimes that's all it takes is just kind of discussing options. Like, for example, I had a client who she couldn't walk outside due to various weather concerns and had a walking pad. I was like, well, how about on those days where you can't walk outside, use a walking pad? And she hadn't really thought of that. And sometimes it's like something that seems so simple, people don't really think about as an option. Oh, you can't go to the gym? You have these 15 or 20-pound dumbbells at home? Do a little circuit. Oh, wait, that wasn't an option. It's not equivalent, but it's an option.
Yeah. The all or nothing, kind of going back to
Hmm.
what we were talking about that, where it's like if they can't get it done the way it was written or the way, um, even like if your plan, like they'll be afraid to say something, like, can I shift it? Can I just do this instead? And like, I'd much rather, as long as we're not going overboard, if we can do something, like if you can't get an hour in, but you can do 30 minutes, knock that out. Like, it's going to help us out and support things. And I
Yeah.
think the big part of that is keeping your head kind of in that rhythm and like that mentality.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
30
like,
is not zero. 10 is not zero, but our brain will tell us sometimes it is.
right. It's not enough. It wasn't the whole way. I get that way even about 6 versus 7. Like if I've got a 6 mile run and a 7 mile run on the books, I'm like, well, if I only have 60 minutes, then I'll only get in the 6 and then that run was pointless. It's like, it wasn't. I
What?
ran for a whole hour. Like, yeah, it's hard to shake that. I think it gets ingrained in us a lot, but
Yes. It's the all or nothing because the all doesn't serve us either.
yeah. Oh, yeah, 100%. It's finding that middle ground is where it works and where it becomes a lifestyle, and you're not in those dedicated phases of like cut, maintain, build, whatever it is. Um, it's so nice getting to a place where everything's just kind of even and you're just maintaining and enjoying.
Yes.
But it's hard, and you really have to get comfortable with the pivot and accepting not perfect in that place, because that's saying it probably, I know it won't be that way. I'm not going to push it to be there. I'm going to push for good enough. And that's okay.
Yeah. Yes. And that middle ground people are kind of are afraid of because they're not used to it. They're used to the extremes and the ups and downs, almost addicted to it, right? Like thriving on the excitement of the highs and the lows rather than can I just like thrive and be and
Right. I think a lot of it's like wanting the boundary too, though. Like if it has a name, like this, what goes to like if they want to have like a diet that has a certain name, or even like programs, or even just cut or maintenance
hmm
building, whatever, it helps them like be in a specific box in their head and commit to it more, I think.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
then
They want
you're
the
just
rules.
you're like, here you are, go live.
Yeah. Right. That's been like a reoccurring conversation lately, just about like maybe taking a maintenance period for whatever reason. Cause like the majority of the people I work with, they want to lose weight. That's, most people who hire a coach and finding that maintenance and like staying there for a little bit. It's like, yeah, like I've done maintenance, like, but have you actually done maintenance? You've underate and then you've overate and you've stayed the same weight. Meanwhile, your body's stressed out either way. What if you just fueled your body the right way, felt good, and then jumped into fat loss? And it's just like the most foreign thing
Yep.
to think of,
It's boring.
but giving that a,
That's why.
yeah,
You know?
it is.
It's well, it's boring, but also like every day is kind of scary too, right? Where they get on the
Yeah, I get
schedule,
it.
the fluctuations, the do I really need to be eating this much? Like all of that
Hmm.
timeline, it's a lot longer than most people think it is. Like you want to be in that position for, in a perfect world, twice as long as you were dieting.
Right. That's
And
hard to digest.
that's a huge ask, especially when you look at people that are dieting like 6 months out of the year. And then it's like, yeah, I actually am asking you to not diet for 12 months now. And I mean, really, if you look at it, if I don't know if your diet history is as extensive as mine, but I mean, if I
Well,
really
it's,
think
yeah.
about it, like going back to like 12, um, I would be shocked if there's more than 6 consistent years where there was no diet in place, and I would guarantee that all of them I was pregnant. You know?
Yes, exactly. Which also is taking from your body in other ways, right?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
it's so essentially, well, even though you weren't dieting, you were, trying to get your baby from not leaching everything away from you, so you had nothing left.
This after Claire, that's probably the longest period of my life where I did not intentionally diet and was able to go until her third birthday, where I was like, I'm just gonna try and not push it and like just let like athleticism and fitness and like that side of it see where I can get with things, and like tried to not go into a caloric deficit for as long as I could. And then it was like 2 months before her third birthday where I was like, damn it, let's go.
She nursed for a long time too, right? She
Forever
was,
until 19.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
just shy of 2. So then once my period had come back at like the 1 year mark, I think, even though she was nursing. And I mean, she was getting food and stuff like that. So that kind of made sense. And then we made it another 7 months. And then at that point, I was just, I was done. We were still
yeah.
nursing like enough, like throughout the day, where like it was a weird shift with stuff, but it felt like a good time where we could just be done. I had never made it even half that long with like the other kids.
Aw.
And so that was hard because I was like, they're working. They know what they're doing. My boobs. But I also was just at that point very ready to have my body back.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
not like get my body back, but like not create someone's food source with it anymore.
Right. Yes.
Like,
Have all the nutrients belong to you.
right. I was tired of being responsible for keeping another body going, and ready to just be able to, be irresponsible with like pre-workout shit like that.
Yeah, I know. The stuff we live for. Yeah, my daughter nursed for just over 3 years because during we were just talking about the pandemic and like weird shifts. My husband all of a sudden is working from home, and that was the only way she would nap and be quiet for a long period of time. So it was like, oh, I guess we're doing this.
Yeah. I
So we
would,
just kept going.
yeah, yeah. No, um, I wish we could, like, I thought to myself, like, I want to keep going, like, as long as it would. A 3 was, like, about where I was like, okay, that's probably my comfort level, like, with it, with just having a kid who's, like, that big. But, it was funny because people would say, well, when they can ask for it, but, like, at 19 months, she
Right.
totally could. And it didn't feel weird, like, that was our
Right.
thing. And even now, she's 3.5. And last night, I was like, holding her like a baby, and I'm like, I miss when you were like small enough for boobies, like.
It just
And
calmed them down and regulated them, right? It just,
like very specific cuddle, and just
yeah.
like, oh, I do miss it when I think about it too much. I took a million videos that like last month where I could feel we were both kind of just getting to the
No
place where it
way.
was a good one. And I mean, I was starting to get worried too that if we kept going, it was going to be harder to stop. Like, was that hard on her, or like was she good when you guys
It was all
went?
her, actually.
Really?
Yeah, because I felt bad. My first one, I cut him off and went to Mexico. And then when I got back, he seemed really like upset about it and asked. And I'm like, but it's already been a week. So if I go back to it, then, so I felt bad cutting him off. And then my middle kiddo, I was pregnant. And one day he's like, it doesn't taste good. I want my binky, which was fine because being pregnant and nursing was like a whole demand on the body. So with her, it was kind of like, well, she's my last one. Right. And then, there was the big talk of antibodies because that was the only way she was going to get antibodies too. So that also was another perk to doing it. And she was less and less, right? It just kind of slow, progressive wean. And then one day she didn't ask for it. And I'm like, all right, I'm not going to say anything. And then never again, which
Yep.
was great.
I forgot that Mexico was actually what kind of led to our weaning too.
Really? That's
Because
funny.
now that I think about it, I was like, what? Because it was in October that we were officially done, but the second to last week of September that year, we went to Mexico, just the two of us. And so I went through the whole thing of like, I thought that was it and that we were weaned when I left because we were going to be gone for 4 days. And I was like, there's no way my boobs are going to keep up with this. Like, so I'd kind of prepared myself that when we came back, it was likely that we were done. And I thought she would be over it. And I had like walked in the door and she like made a beeline and like pushed me down
Right.
like
For the
magic, crawled
boobs.
in my lap. It was like,
Started motorboating.
and it was just enough to make I think it made my supply annoying for her.
Oh, was it like, did you have like that tingly letdown too? Like as
Oh,
soon
I
as,
took a pump and everything, like
oh,
with us, because I was afraid of what was going to like happen if I was going to like be too full or whatever. She was the first baby I had mastitis with,
oh
and
no, that's
I'll
awful.
never forget that. I remember walking around Target and like hallucinating because my fever got so high. And like, as moms, you try to be like, it's not that bad. I'm fine. Like my boob hurts. I'm fine. It's just, it'll get better. And
I'm
like,
feverish and delirious. It's all
yeah.
good.
And then I think my fever got up like it was like 104.5 when I finally like called the doctor and I was like, "Hi, I'm pretty sure something's wrong. I don't think this is supposed to happen. I think I'm dying." And then like we went to Target and I insisted on going like an idiot and then trying to wander the aisles and I'd have to like sit down from just feeling so depleted. And I remember before that wondering if clogged ducts like is this what everyone's making a fuss about? Like thinking that was mastitis and then getting mastitis and being like, oh. So like
Yeah,
now if I talk to someone and they're like, oh yeah, I got recurrent infections. I'm
that's
like, whoa, mom.
funny
Like,
because I also have a mastitis superstore story.
yeah. Oh my God.
Yes, well, yes, and like the recurrent, I did get it the first time when Nicholas was in the hospital at a week old, and he was in critical care, and I couldn't nurse, and I was like really stressed out too. So that's when I got it the first time because I was just so backed up, and but boobies are still figuring out the supply. And then I got it on the same side when Olivia was maybe 5 days old, and I had this massive headache that wouldn't go away. I didn't know it was mastitis yet. So I called and I had a fever too. And I felt just awful. So I called the nurse line, which sometimes it's helpful and sometimes it's the exact opposite. So this particular nurse said, have you checked your blood pressure? And I'm like, no. She goes, well, there's this postpartum preeclampsia that sounds very much like what you could have. So I need you to go take your blood pressure. I'm like, where? She goes, do you have any stores nearby with a cuff? I'm like, oh no, Walmart. I'm like, and what if it's high? She goes, then you need to come to the emergency room. So I'm like, well, great. I got to take my newborn to an emergency room. So my father-in-law took me to Walmart. And you know what happens with white coat syndrome when you sit and you take your blood pressure? Like that shit was higher than it has been in my entire life. It was like 140 over 95. And I'm like, oh my God, I have it. So that my father-in-law's like, calm down. We're going to buy this blood pressure cup and take it home. You're going to relax and you're going to take it again in a relaxed environment because this probably isn't right.
Right.
So I'm in Walmart, like panicking with mess. But then it was normal. I looked in the mirror and sure enough, it was bright red. I'm like, oh, I'm kind of relieved it's just mastitis at this point.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's a crazy experience. Well, I love it. We need a collection. If there's anybody listening and you have a
Yeah.
big box store with mastitis stories, I'm
Who
gonna
knew
get
it was a thing?
right, right. Maybe it's like a rite of passage that you have to go wander with a high fever in a store with your boobs hurting. Because I literally think I read about, oh, there was somebody else. There was like a celebrity or somebody who had like a similar story where they took themselves and like the nearest pharmacy was at a Target and so they were like sitting there with their high fever and like inflamed boobs.
So it's a thing. Yeah. And probably after having so many kids, it's bound to happen, right? It's just at
Yeah,
that point.
the weird stuff that our bodies can do. Sometimes good, sometimes bad.
Yeah.
Well, yay. Well, we went over an hour, so I'll stop stealing all of your day. But I appreciate you. I'm so glad that it got to just be like a shoot the shit. So, like, my favorite part of all of these is I'm getting to get like an hour of FaceTime with clients and stuff when normally we're like
Oh,
that email like barrier a
right.
little bit, you know? So I get to see your faces and hear your voices instead of you just hearing me rambling to myself in a video.
You know, I do a lot of Loom and some one-on-one calls too, so I completely appreciate that difference. Do you do also a good blend of Loom and one-on-one calls or mostly Loom?
Yeah, so I mean, Loom videos back, and then I don't get them from my clients. Like I've had people that like where we would do that for a little bit, and it just got to the point where I didn't have enough time in the day to watch all the videos coming back my way. So then
Yeah.
I had to be like, can we not? I mean, it's nice now that they have like the transcript. So sometimes I will like double time it and then read the transcript as they're talking really fast if I get one. But so it's mostly like the one way. And then I do like the initial call. And then after that, it's like if people need them, like we book them whenever we really need them, and things like that. So if somebody brings up like, hey, I think we should get on a call, then I'm like, let's do it immediately. But there's not a lot of people that do that, which I'm surprised by. But I'm
Yeah,
kind of
I've
this
got a handful.
like with
I have a
coaching
handful that's still
that do them
like
a
it's more
lot.
that back and forth like mindset, right? Hearing how people talk, like and then there's another level service where I do a lot of the Loom check-ins, but like there I do have a handful of people that like having that back and forth every other week just to really dive in um, to some stuff, which both have their pros and cons. But I do like the feedback, just being able to give that Loom feedback too, similar to what you do.
Right. I've thought about offering, trying to dive more in. The problem is it ends up more expensive, right? And then I'm very hesitant
Yeah.
to do things that are like as a mom, I get it, and I know what I'm comfortable paying for myself in like these situations and stuff. And so there's certain like ceilings that I just don't want to go above. And then there's like, but then I'm like, oh, if it takes that much more time, then realistically I should. I mean, I talked to a coach that was like $800 a month, and I was like, fuck you, lady. And he wanted to put me on like these crazy protocols and stuff. And I'm like, this isn't even what I want. Like, why are you charging a car payment? This is ridiculous. And so yeah, but I want to explore more options, like group coaching even. That's why I wanted to get like the Facebook group picked up more. I want to try and do a retreat because I think a lot of us just need that like connect.
Connection. Yeah, because it's lonely as a virtual coach where you're not facing people. It's or even your coworkers, right?
Yeah. So you have this emotion like with stuff, you're like bought in. Actually, Fridays, I have one client who I've talked about a ton. Her name's Lisa, and we've been working together for 5 years now. And she lost her mom. I think this October is going to be 2 years, I think. Um, Unless it's just been the longest year ever, and maybe it was last year, but I'm pretty sure it's been 2 years. Um, and so like we dive into stuff and like I cry. She's gonna go celebrate her grandmother is still with her. And so she's going to her grandmother's house to go celebrate her birthday today. And I was like, your mom would be so happy, and so I'll sit here and like get myself all worked up over like emails and stuff. And then you're right, like then you're like alone like with it. And sometimes I almost wish we had like the water cooler that you can go to with people. And so I think just having, the people you can reach out to and then doing more of it. I've been making myself do that, like sending the text where it's like, am I a weirdo if I say this? I'm like, just say it. Like, how often have
Yeah,
you ever gotten a text where somebody was saying something nice and you were like, you weirdo, you know?
right.
And so
That's true.
trying to seek that out more, create little smiles, that kind of stuff.
Be a weirdo on your runs and say hi to everybody, even if they look grumpy. And then when they don't always say back, like, okay, whatever.
Cool.
It's the
Yeah,
worst.
I'm totally I'm like a billboard the whole time I'm running, probably way too loud. 'Cause I'm like, hi, good morning over my headphones.
Same.
And then people just like don't even look at you. Oh, that makes me mad. They're just like,
Especially when you see the same people and they routinely do that, and you're like, come on, just it feels good to say hi.
right. I'm like,
Takes away from the torture.
Yes, yes. And trail running is so interesting with those people. I started making like a mental tally of the kinds of people you pass on a trail.
Mhm. Ooh, in
How,
California though, when I was running in California last October, it was this pretty little town, like kind of in the mountains, and the people running there, oh, they were like, "Keep it up, you're doing great." Like everybody you passed was so nice. I was like, "What? Really?
yeah.
Thank you. You
Well, so
too."
I figured that out. That's what I was working on last weekend. You can tell with the people who don't routinely go on trails or who are
Hmm.
from out of town, they're bigger dicks. And it's the people who are routine. Then the next step is you can figure out the people who think that they're professional trail runners and they think their training's far more serious than yours and they're probably locals. And then the people who are out there just having a good time. And so I run in Boulder, which like the hard part with Boulder is that a lot of, and I don't know who these people are, but I've been reading more on like the Facebook boards and stuff like that, is that you're super likely to be running with like professional ultra and like trail runners and stuff like that, because a lot of them live there because there's so much access to trails, and then with the elevation already, like it helps in this area. And I'm like, oh, one day I want to figure out, because there's like a pack of guys that I see pretty much every weekend. They don't run together, but like now I've lumped them all together in one group. And like three of them are really nice, and two of them seem very full of themselves. And they always like fly up the hill and fly down. And so I'm like, one day I gotta get a sneaky picture. And then I'm gonna like Google search and see if these guys are anything special like in the community, because their training is amazing. But apparently that's supposed to be a thing. Like one day somebody said they just looked up and they were running with like Courtney Dauwalter. And I was like, damn, I died. Do you know who she is?
Amen.
Trail running. She's crazy. You can't miss her because she'd be in her crazy shorts. So I feel like now anybody would know if they saw someone running in like basketball
She's
shorts.
very
It's her.
detectable.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd like fall down the mountain trying to get out of her way. Like, go ahead, it's fine. Like, all right, my girl, before I travel down another random tangent, we can end
Yes, I'm
here.
off to school pickup anyway, so
He's so bad, so that's a good thing. I
off to
drank
the
a whole
races.
gallon, so I
Nice.
I posted my 7 Diet Cokes over here, so I made myself go drink water.
Oh, good. Yeah, I had a random latte today, which I typically don't treat myself to, but I'm like, I deserve some extra caffeine today.
Yes, treat yourself. I appreciate that. All right, girl. Well, you have a wonderful weekend, and you guys, thank
Thank
you for hanging
you.
out with
Thanks
us.
for having me.
Of course, if anyone listening, if you want to be on, send me an email. I want to talk to everybody and just have a good time and share our experiences and things like that. And like I said, just form that little community. So I'm here for you. If you need me, shoot me an email, leave any comments, and we'll talk again soon.